Hi, I'm David with EV World News. We're talking about electric vehicles, green energy, and the stock markets. And I'm here today with our resident engineer, Mike Herzog. How's it going today, Mike?
I'm here. I'm doing okay. I hear the sickness in your voice, and I feel you. I think we were talking beforehand. I had that last week, and it's the crud. That's for sure.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I failed a COVID test, but I seem to have all the symptoms of
Mhm.
COVID, but we'll see where it is. Let's start out with one that just kind of got released this morning. The IRS gives a little more time for electric car buyers to secure the $7,500 or the $4,000 tax credit. So as long as you have a contract in place and some money has transacted by September 30th, it does not. They're giving no end number. So if you have the car ordered, it doesn't appear to matter when you take possession as long as you've done that by September 30th.
We
Which,
are we are seeing that in the renewable energy world right now. Safe harboring projects where it's as long as the project has started, it means like you put a piling in the ground or whatever it is, you can still qualify for this. So there's just a rush of we need to get something in the ground.
Owen, it would be nice if it was like the tariffs. I don't see that happening on this one.
I think these are goners. I
Yeah,
think the EV, I think
unfortunately.
the renewable tax credits, I think those are goners.
I think realistically, what's going to happen is, you know, Trump obviously can't run again. So there's a 50-50 chance that it'll be a Democrat next time around. But, even in 3 years, maybe we don't need EV tax credits anymore.
Yeah.
Because what we're seeing is the prices of EVs is starting to really make economic sense on the front end. Never mind on the total cost of energy, but it's really starting to make a lot of sense as far as that goes. So I think what you're going to have happen is by then it won't really matter. Now,
I agree. I think in the next couple of years, I mean, we see they're at parity today. I mean, it's
yeah,
just the tax incentive is just icing on the cake and goes through. And the more and more infrastructure builds up around them, the more effective and beneficial they're going to be.
well, I've seen people complaining about that are in the solar space and how this is ruining their business and all this
Yeah.
by taking away the tax credits and all that. And it's like, that solar business has been, I don't know, it's kind of shady. I've talked about this in the show before because they charge 5x what it costs to deliver the product. Okay. That doesn't seem reasonable at all.
No.
Okay. And so when you can have the labor and the materials and you're charging 5 times what it is, basically because people are getting this massive tax credit, um, that is I don't know.
There's
Just not
there's
cool with that.
there's unfortunately we've seen it a lot where we're at in this part of the country. There's been some really outright fraudulent people in this space too that haven't done any good, and high pressure sales, and untruthful about payback and returns, and really squeezing the juice out of the orange on this one. But it's solar's not there. I'll say that EVs. I don't want to say like go get rid of the tax breaks. It won't have an impact. It'll have an impact, but I think that train left the station. But solar's not there yet. It's just not. There's other advantages. I mean, you can put them in quick and doing things like that, but it's just it's going to have more trouble.
Well, Germany did this about 2 years ago. They cut the incentives in Germany, and the first year, EVs actually slid backwards on the sales. Then the following year, they
Just
went back into growth mode again,
yeah.
even without the you know credits. So that makes a big difference. Well, that's good that Arizona's doing that.
DOT.
Yeah, yeah. The individual states are going to do their thing. You get a lot of states where there's just high rates of adoption already.
Yeah.
And Arizona, you probably see a lot of it. Anytime I come to Arizona and I'm in Scottsdale, I tend to see a lot of EVs. But it's part of town where people are
Scottsdale.
moving cars, and even if you have
Pretty nice city.
It may not be that fancy. Yeah. Yeah, I'm just saying, it tends to be, one of my tennis friends was joking where he lives in Naples, and he drives a nice Porsche, and he says my car looks like a clunker down there.
Down there,
he says it looks like such. It might as well just be a Malibu, and just a whole different thing. Yeah, I mean, you see them far more there than we do at the part of the country we're in.
I could see a model though, like if you're a snowbird, the part of the country we're at where people go to Phoenix and Scottsdale and Naples and places in the winter, like, well, God, what a great car to have there. And just waiting, it's my car, this will be my car when I go to Phoenix for the winter. And it's an EV. I'm not taking it on road trips. It's just for putzing around the city. It's going to sit idle 6 months out of the year. Like I could see that. Here's my snowbird car. It's an EV.
Yeah, well, that makes a lot of sense too. All right, let's go on to one of the big stories. BYD has a 2,959 horsepower Yangwing U9 Track Edition. Hits 293 miles per hour, crushing Rimax EV top speed record.
You just put some wings on it and it takes off too.
Yeah, I don't know. You have to make it aerodynamically in a way that it doesn't go airborne, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's seriously at that speed, like you have to put big old spoiler on the back.
Yeah. So that's what a 3,000 horsepower EV looks like right there. That's what we all need. You just see somebody going down I-80 towards Lincoln at 293. You get there in about 14 minutes or something like that. Yeah, it's just I don't know why they needed to put 3,000 horsepower in a car. I mean, that's about the same. What is it? Oh, a P-47 Thunderbolt, World War II, had about 2,800 horsepower. Yeah, this is more than that. It's just crazy, isn't it? Let's see. That's 472 kilometers. That sounds even faster.
That makes it sound faster when you're approaching 500.
Faster than a Koenigsegg. That's just crazy. A track-focused semi-slick tire. Optimized compound materials and bespoke tread design. Bespoke tread design. I love that word, bespoke. Let's see. It has a suspension system that not only negates pitch and roll, but can jump over potholes. That'd be great in Ralston, like over on 84th. Really, just right down there and skip all the potholes.
Skim the whole thing.
Douglas County is just notorious for potholes, so this would be a great Omaha car right here. The electric motors spin to 30,000 RPMs.
Wow.
Yeah. Independent, and they can independently adjust torque to each wheel more than 100 times per second.
That's wild.
Yeah, that is. It's just crazy to think that they're doing that in the EV space. Yeah, the thing is, should they didn't tell us what the range of that car was, right?
Yeah.
That'd be the real one, right?
You have a lap.
Yeah. You're running at 3,000 horsepower. It probably goes a couple laps around, and you got to swap the battery out or something.
Spores, right? So you could tilt it, go up and down, and
that's a little nuts. All right.
Somebody had a lot of fun. I think some people had a lot of fun designing that car. That's what it sounds like.
Oh, no doubt. All right. So I found this article on LinkedIn that's talking about the sweet spot for EV fast charging is 150 kilowatts per port. Now, you teach classes on EV charging, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So an EV charging, the loudest arguments is always about power. Do we need 360 to 400 kilowatts? beasts on every corner, or can 150 kilowatts do the job? For most drivers, most cars, most utilities, and most business models, 150 kilowatts per port is the best bet. And the smartest ways to get there is with either a 300 kilowatt, which is two 150s, or 600 kilowatt cabinets, four 150s. NEVI requires every funded site to deliver 150 kilowatts simultaneously per port with at least 97% uptime. Power sharing is allowed above that. A 600 kilowatt block with 4 posts guarantees compliance while letting you boost output if stalls are empty. Now, if you look at common cars, the Nissan Ariya only is 130 kilowatt. The Volkswagen ID4 can go up to 175. The F-150 can go up to 155 kilowatts. The Model Y can do 250 kilowatts.
Jeez.
The Hyundai Ioniq 5 can do 230. The Porsche Taycan can do 320.
That's so much power. That's a lot of power transfer. I mean, that's yeah, crazy. That's crazy
Well,
how that goes.
So that one on the Porsche, that's 320 at 800 volt. And oh, by the way, I've invited the Gravity Charger CEO to come on our show, because they're the ones who are doing the 800 volt charging in New York City.
I mean, what they're describing that, and they're nice round numbers, and I think it makes sense with what they're doing. And I mean, I was just outside a Tesla supercharger station this morning, and there's a handful of them in there, and lots of spots, and availability. And I think it makes sense for what they're doing. But I also just saw another study where they're really trying to figure out the high voltage charging and super fast charging. And the preliminary stuff, they've said it actually doesn't cause the power issues they thought they would, because the coincidence is so low. It's like the chance that you actually have multiples of them in there, because it only takes 5 minutes or 10 minutes or whatever it is, that it actually doesn't increase the power demand that much, because they get them in and out so fast. They're not charging. It's not that 150 for 20 minutes. It's 200 or 300 for 5 minutes. How they go through. It's kind of interesting what they're looking at now.
Because it's unlikely that there's going to be that many. Well, like what this guy's saying, a lot of these cars can't even take 150.
Yeah, they can't even. It's not.
Yeah, and like Owen's saying, he and Bill Moore's car only takes 75. Okay, and so that's a little so they take even less.
Yep.
And so they charge even slower. But they were just saying that if the cars have the capability and they can take the 5-minute charging, by all means.
Yep.
And then, like saying, they're only there 5 minutes anyways. And hopefully it's a place where there's 4 to 8 chargers or whatever. And,
and there's space. And I mean, it's like, I'm sure it's like the gas station thing where, hey, after you fill up, do you move your car to the front of the gas station to go buy your big Gulp, or do you leave your car at the gas pump when you're doing that? And I think they're going to start seeing that with EVs, especially as those charging times go down. Like,
so
I thought 20 minutes.
Yeah. So while I was sick, I did attend a tennis tournament in Tulsa this past weekend, and 2 of my teammates came down in EVs, and one had a 26 Model Y, and the other one had his BMW i3 with the 80-mile range. And I'm sure they had a much different experience getting there, but it was interesting because we did have charging at the hotel, so they were constantly over there topping up a little bit. So I thought that was nice to see that. And then it's just starting to see more and more folks adopting the highway driving with the EVs. But so hardware costs rise sharply above 275 to 350 kilowatts. Liquid-cooled 500 amp cables, larger switchgear, heavier construction, higher demand charges. The ROI is driven by utilization, not chasing peaks. 4 drivers pulling 150 kilowatts each is far better for the business model than the 1 driver hogging a 350 kilowatt stall. The 600 kilowatt cabinet maps neatly to a standard 750 kVA transformer. 2 cabinets map to a 1.5 MVA. These are stock utility sizes, can actually be delivered without waiting on custom gear. Staying modular and 600 kilowatt blocks makes scaling practical. Meeting 97% uptime is easier with more ports at 150 kilowatts each. If one module fails, 3 keep serving. Compare that to a handful of 360 plus kilowatt stalls where one is down, throughput drops hard. The other thing here is, can we get more of the payment processing knocked out? Because that's always been one of the hard problems for charging. One of the reasons why the Tesla chargers are so much more reliable is because they don't deal with the credit card processing issues. All right, I'm going to go ahead and move on to a unique design in wind turbines. So I'm not going to say this is necessarily prettier, but it is a solution. This is a Norwegian project. And let's see here. So what this is like an array. This looks kind of like a radar array of some sort, but these are all individual wind turbines all throughout. And of course, this is out over the water. And this is, so Mike, I'm showing.
Okay, sorry about that. We just had a power blank. So.
Oh, no problem. Yeah, I saw you freeze up and I was like, oh, I think Mike is dropping.
Yeah. No, it was dark in here for a minute, but looks like everything came back okay.
So Norway has a new design for wind turbines. So this looks kind of like a radar array of some sort. And these are literally just full, this image of
like micro turbine blades.
Yeah, micro turbine blades. So instead of being having the same issues the big ones have, where having to replace a blade or something like that, a lot easier to fix. One of these, it's 126 small rotors on a 1,000 foot framework. Can power 80,000 homes, 25 times the output of a traditional turbine array. 50-year lifespan versus 20 years. Easier maintenance, no billion-dollar crane ships needed, about half the cost of today's floating wind. While most of the industry has been focused on making turbines bigger, this company is called Windcatcher. They're making them smarter, modular, efficient, and built to last. That seems like a pretty good idea to me.
I like it. Yeah. I mean, it seems the modular piece of it, it seems like that's a lot easier to move out and anchor.
Yeah, it certainly makes a lot more sense to be easier to maintain. And so then you're not taking the thing offline. When I was flying to Tulsa, we weren't flying that high. I think we were flying at 9,000 feet. I was noticing over Kansas, some of the wind turbines weren't moving at all. But we had a 20 mile per hour tailwind.
Yeah.
So I was sitting there thinking it didn't really make a lot of sense, other than maybe they had them shut off.
Could be maintenance or something like that.
But I saw like a pod of like 5 or 6 of them that none of them were spinning at all. And I was just like, well, this, I thought
like
maybe
their pickup speed's really low. It's like 3 meters per second, or something like that. I think it's really like they don't need a whole lot of wind to actually get turning.
Yeah, so I figured they must have had them stopped, for it to be like that. So, I thought that was kind of odd, unless, maybe they just have too much energy in Kansas.
It's typically the wind's not curtailed because it's so cheap. Like it's still about the cheapest power around when it's actually blowing. So they don't normally curtail that one.
So here was something. So normally we're talking all the time about how much energy AI is using, right? So I found this in one of my AI newsletters. So Google just released the most comprehensive study ever on AI's environmental footprint, and the numbers might surprise you. The Gemini prompt, of course, obviously that's Google. It's like watching TV for less than 9 seconds. The median Gemini text prompt consumes 0.24 watt hours of energy, generates 0.03 grams of CO2, and uses 0.26 milliliters of water. That's 5 drops. I guess I never really thought that, when I'm searching something it's doing this, is having carbon emissions. It's using
I see. I
water.
think the comparison would be what's that versus a regular search. I think.
Well, I remember a couple of years ago that Google was saying that it was 10 times more energy to do an AI
I've heard
search
big
than a Google
numbers,
search.
like when they actually apply the computing power to it.
Yeah. Now, Google didn't just measure the obvious stuff. Most studies only look at the GPUs doing the actual AI thinking. Google's comprehensive methodology includes the idle machines waiting to handle traffic spikes, the CPUs managing everything, even the cooling systems keeping it all from melting.
Well, that's the biggest part. I mean, that's the cooling systems.
Yeah.
That's the killer on data centers.
Now, according to Google, incomplete measurements have been wildly estimating AI's environmental impact.
Boy, what a shock! Google came out with the statement that AI is not that bad.
Well, yeah, I get that. Yeah, so you have to take this with a grain of salt, right? Because Google's reporting on what they say Gemini does. Previous estimate: a Chat GPT prompt uses 3 to 7 watts of energy. But narrower measurements only count active GPU usage, show 0.1 watt versus 3 to 7. Google's full stack approach includes all infrastructure, says it's actually 0.24 watts. So it's 2.5 times greater than the lowest estimate, but it's still 1/12 to 1/28 of what
that's
some
crazy,
other estimates
right?
were.
I mean,
Yeah.
the initial ones were 3 to 7, and now they're 0.2. I mean, I'd be how curious how they got to the 3 to 7 to start with.
Well, and that could have been having to do with the nature of when Chat GPT first came out too.
It could that could be very true. When that first came out, it's been refined and algorithms corrected and stuff like that.
I've seen people. I've been on calls talking about quantum computing and these ideas of using light. And there's some issues with resistors and some other stuff of how you can send a signal through at light speed. But if this really came to fruition, then computing would use very little energy compared to what it uses now. So, but we'll see. It's still all theoretical. They're able to do some of this in labs. It's hard to make it on a scale that people can put out.
I've seen that one. They've even talked about like using DNA as coding for long-term storage, just because it takes so little space and it's passive once you get it in there. And with like CRISPR technology and what they can actually manipulate it into storage. So I think there's some good things on the horizon that are coming with it. But the world I live in grid planning, the power demand of data centers and what they're looking, it is staggering. It's people like me who have been in the industry for 20 years. You hear some of the numbers they throw around, talking, hundreds of megawatts. It's just, it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. And now to get past some of the interconnection queue requirements and for hedging and playing power markets, they're starting to put in generation at all of these plants, and they're power plant size generators for these data centers that they're proposing. And it's the size of cities, in a quarter section. Here's the demand of a 250,000 person city in this tiny little spot. It's staggering. It's unbelievable to people who have been in the industry for a while.
Well, in here, the water one is one we don't hear about much. And I realize that's one of the reasons why a lot of data centers seem to be located here, because we have both cheap electricity and cheap water. But actual water consumption, 0.26 milliliters versus previous estimates of 45 to 50 milliliters. So that's like half a percent of what the original estimates had been. Now, Google's been crushing it on efficiency. Over the past year, they've reduced Gemini's energy consumption by 33x and carbon footprint by 44x per prompt, all while making responses better. They are using custom TPUs, which is Google's in-house AI chips, which are 30 times more efficient than their first generation. smarter model architectures like mixture of experts to only activate the brain cells needed for each specific question, and ultra efficient data centers running at 1.09 PUE. Do you know what that is?
Per unit electricity? I don't know.
Yeah. Only 9% of energy overhead is for cooling and infrastructure. Oh, okay. So 1.09 means 9% energy overhead for cooling and infrastructure.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's a pretty big change in what we've been told. Now, is this BS? Is this Google propaganda? We don't know. But
I don't know, but you hear like they're citing, hey, we were 33 times more efficient than we used to be, and we're doing that. Like, great, sounds great. If you're actually getting to these numbers, that's going to be a really good thing.
Right. Yeah. So I think that'll be helpful because we talked about how Musk had talked about how by the end of this year there could be like blackouts and stuff like that due to AI pulling too much power and things like that. And there's certainly, like you're saying, there's such strong demand that it's hard to fathom. It's good for the utility companies if they can be selling that power. But
they can build the infrastructure. It's really good, but it's the issue is it's a lot of load to catch up to in a hurry.
Yeah. Well, anyways, all right. I got an article about Tesla. So the Model S is getting a new refresh. Let's see what we get here for images. I've always thought the Model S was the sharpest looking of the Tesla cars.
I like the Model S.
It's
it's one we don't hear about a lot anymore.
Honestly, I think it looks more like a Model 3.
That's what I was gonna say. Like, boy, that I don't like that as much. It's less distinct, and it looks like there are other vehicles, that's for sure. But I'd like another curve or two.
See, I don't know what this picture is for, unless they're planning on making it so you can take the roof off, like you do on a Corvette. The T-tops kind of set up.
T-top kind of thing.
Yeah, I don't know. That to me, that looks more like a Model 3. Although I have felt they've made the Model 3 look a little slicker.
I like the Model 4 because before the Model 3, I did not think it looked when it looks just like a Model Y. It's kind of I don't know, like that's.
Yeah, that's one of the problems. Like even the Y and the X, I can only tell them apart.
Oh, that's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking X, Y and X, not the 3.
Yeah, I mean the X is a little bigger, but you really can't tell unless you can see the side of it and see where the door handle is positioned on the rear door. And other than that, you really can't tell. Now, the older ones actually said X on the back. The newer ones don't tell you the model on the back anymore. Yeah, so they only did that. I don't know. I don't know what the last year where they actually said that it was an X, but I think you actually see that it's probably one from the teens. I don't think they did it from 20 on. And so that gets a little odd. Anyways, I got an article here I should have saved for Bill, but we're going to go for it anyways. But he's familiar with the topic. I got one on electric aviation, although for some reason it's not loading. Help. Give me just a second here. Let's see. So electric aviation is accelerating as startups like Joby, Archer, Ampere, and Zero Avia push toward FAA certification and commercial launch. New FAA rules streamline approval for powered lift aircraft, while propulsion strategies, battery, hybrid, and hydrogen, diversify range and infrastructure needs. Despite regulatory hurdles, investor confidence and airline partnerships signal that 2025 may be the breakout year for sustainable flight. Now, it gives me this image here. This is you really wouldn't know. This is an Ampere. And you really can't tell looking at that it's anything but a normal airplane.
Yeah.
And that
Cool.
Nice. Yeah, Bill had an article on this, and the article doesn't want to load today, so
Okay.
that's kind of sad. But that is kind of nice. I mean, it's probably similar in size to the plane I just flew on. I mean, flying in a small plane is great. A lot of them, when you get in the really small planes, they're not air conditioned. So when you're taxiing, you hold your door open.
Yeah.
It's like a little air in the
Get a little
plane.
breeze.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, it's just kind of funny
It's just
how
that's funny to think about, like just like getting into a hot car. It's
Right.
been sitting there for a while, like, ooh.
Yeah. Well, and my friend's plane, it's nice, but it's like a 2001. So it's 24 years old. It's like, you think about that in a car, it's like that seems kind of old. But in planes, the difference with planes, though, with a car, you're driving it several times a day, probably, right?
Yeah,
With your plane, unless you're, using it commercially,
delivering the mail or something, just
yeah, like my friend uses his plane like once a week.
Yeah, if that, yeah.
Yeah, he flies a fair amount, but he tries. Yeah, he tries to get usage to it. He has kind of a funny story. He's a immigrant from Venezuela, and the country wouldn't let him bring money from Venezuela unless it was spent on education. So he's like, well, how about I become a pilot?
I would go to flight school.
So he just had to go to flight school, and so it was his own money. Yeah. Okay, mind you, but he wasn't allowed to take it out of the country.
Wouldn't have been able to bring it. So, I guess go to flight school.
I don't think you can have an electric jet engine because there's not a propulsion. It's like the idea of having electric rockets.
Yeah,
you don't have a propulsion source, so they're all going to be essentially props, turboprops.
It's props. Yeah.
Something along that line.
That's jet engines work, yeah, because the output of the fuel is the energy that's shooting out, whereas props, it's
exploding out the back.
The propeller.
Yeah. So that's I don't know. I don't think it's so bad that there's planes with propellers on them. Yeah. I get people sometimes, oh, you're floating a plane with a propeller? Is that safe? So
turns out it's the way it was for a minute.
Yeah. It's funny, the questions, that's safe. Well, I suppose it is, but
I hope so. I'm back. Maybe.
Yeah. All right. So Rivian promises hands-free driving by 2026, even in city traffic. So they're developing their own type of autonomous driving. They're looking for level 3 autonomous driving. They said it'll soon be able to handle full trips on its own, but level 3 autonomy is easier said than done. You can just ask Tesla. Yeah.
That's based on the conversations we've had for the past 2 years. Like, yeah, there's a lot of bugs to work out with it.
Yeah. Hands-free systems on highways aren't new, but extending that tech into the stop-and-go chaos of city driving and putting decision-making power into the hands of technology is a much bigger challenge. Rivian plans to show its progress in an upcoming Autonomy Day, where it will demonstrate how close it really is. I've seen people who've, bought like Cybertrucks, posting videos of their Cybertruck just driving them around, with full self-driving in the city, and successfully navigating weird turns and other things like that. And they were pleased with it. Whereas you get other people that have had negative experiences.
It's the problem is, like, with self-driving, that it can be great 99% of the time, but it's the 1%. And if you happen to get into that, even 99.9% of the time, it's just that one little time where it misreads a curve or gets off its map or something like that, where it's trouble. And I think that's the challenge with autonomy, is how many nines can you get out with that? Because highway driving, great, easy, straightforward. That's a wonderful thing. But I think people need that extra 9 on reliability for city.
So autonomy is measured on a scale from 0 to level 5. Most vehicles on the road today top out at level 2, where the car can steer, accelerate, and brake, but the driver must remain alert and responsible, as we've seen with the recent Tesla autopilot lawsuits. Level 3 is the turning point. In certain conditions, a car takes over full responsibility for driving decisions, not the human. That jump has proven extremely difficult. Technical hurdles, unclear laws, and safety concerns have slowed even the most advanced players. Mercedes has a certified level 3 system in Germany and Nevada,
Okay.
but it is tightly limited. You can drive all over Nevada and not really see another car for a long
Yeah.
time. There's a lot of
It's a
highways
lot.
in Nevada
It's a
that don't get a
lot
lot
of
of
open
driving.
space.
um, let's see. Tesla is still operating at level 2. So, and RJ Scaringe is hoping to get them to level 3 in the next couple of years. Well, he might. You never know. I
Yeah,
mean,
man.
they're
Making progress.
they're partnering with somebody, I think it's called Neuro or something like that,
Mhm.
with the intent of providing autonomous vehicles for Uber and Lyft.
Well,
So,
and I think with this too, it's as soon as somebody breaks through, it's gonna punch a hole through for other people to follow. It's like here's a little bit of the secret sauce, a little bit of the formula. Like this is, it's not going to be the exact same thing, but I think once people kind of get the blueprint down, after one of them figures out, we're gonna see everybody else start to adopt to it. Because like I think you mentioned in that one, I mean, just laws and things
yeah.
like that need to get figured out and put into place once the first one gets in and some of that ambiguity goes away. More, I think it's going to go pretty quick for everybody else.
All right. I didn't really look at this article yet, but I thought it sounded interesting. Ford CEO says Lincoln's future lies beyond EVs. Ford CEO Jim Farley has an idea for Lincoln that could help it stick. Now, for Pebble Beach Golf Tournament this year, Jim Farley brought a 1937 Lincoln K. LeBaron Coupe.
Ooh.
Um,
Is that one of those real cool looking ones?
well, I'm kind of curious about this. Um, they don't give pictures. It was pretty ahead of its time, driving like something from the 50s, but in 1937. Lincoln isn't ahead of the curve anymore, but it used to be the face of luxury life in its heyday, but it really isn't anymore. Farley says that some folks at Ford want the brand to be all electric. That was a V12 in 37. Yeah. We're starting to discover our brand location for Lincoln that makes sense. The team really pushed me to have an all-electric lineup, but I refused to do it. And I'm sure glad we didn't. If not batteries, so what if not batteries should power the future of silent Ford-branded luxury cars? Extended range electric vehicles, a hybrid and electric, and extended range EV lineup, maybe a few electric cars, but more on the affordable side. Lincoln isn't swinging for the top 1% of buyers anymore. Even the priciest Lincoln, the Navigator, stays under 120,000 MSRP. Well, I'll tell you, that's still getting pretty up there.
It's pretty expensive.
Yeah.
I know we're going a little bit numb to that 6-figure range on a vehicle, but dang, that's a lot.
Yes. Well, it'll be interesting to see. It doesn't really give any specifics on what they might do to.
So basically, he's just saying like, Lincoln will not be their all electric brand.
Yeah, it looks like that was the ultimate part of the story.
We're going to keep a combustion engine Aviator out there.
Yeah, essentially that story was a nothing burger. Yeah, I always love it when I get articles like that where there's really nothing to it. I mean, I would have probably been more interested if we at least had a picture
just
of
about
the
everything
Lincoln.
Farley says about EVs is making the news because he's been so vocal about it, for the past year of like, this is the future of Ford. It has to be EVs. So for him to come back and say like, no, like we're still gonna, we're not going all EV yet. We're gonna keep some of this. Maybe that's where.
Well, like I've said before, one of the things with Ford is they abandoned the lower price tier in cars. So they got rid of all their cars other than the Mustang. And So everything is an SUV or a pickup truck where they make good margins. But let's say they start at 50,000 plus, and go up to 100 grand. They make money in that range. If they were
Yeah.
selling, I don't know that they really make a lot of money on the Maverick, for instance, which is you can get those starting at about 28,000 as a four-door small pickup truck or medium-sized pickup truck, I guess it is. The idea of having a $30,000 EV pickup in a couple of years with the price of batteries cratering probably will make them money, but they're really going to have the volume, right? So it's going to have to be something bigger. Ford I was looking at something in that Tesla only sold like 5,000 Cybertrucks in the last quarter. Okay. Ford sells that every 5 days in F-150s.
Yeah.
Okay. So that means that Ford's selling basically 1,000 F-150s in the US a day. They might sell more than that. I really don't know. It wouldn't surprise me.
I mean, well, it's been the best-selling car forever, or was the best-selling vehicle forever. Yes.
And so it's hard to fathom, where that space may go. But, the small EV truck, I think, makes a lot of sense. He's saying he wants to do a four-door, unlike the Slate two-door. I think the Slate two-door is a great idea. I think there's still a market for two-door pickup trucks. I mean,
I think so. I think so. And I'm really interested in the Slate. I'm really interested in it with just the way, I don't know, I'm going to say kids these days, but it's foreign to me, but the way they customize their laptops and put new screens and covers and special keys on them. I think the appeal of, for $500, you can wrap your Slate in whatever you want. Like, I think that's going to take off. I think that's going to have a really interesting market for younger people.
Oh, without a doubt. Anyways, that was all I had for today. Mike and I will be back next Wednesday. I think we may have a guest next week. And I'm not back with Bill tomorrow. We'll be back on Friday this week. So we're going to start experimenting with skipping Thursday and doing Friday. So anyways, folks, thanks for watching. And otherwise, have a great day.